Alrighty, folks. Who's ready for another edition of the Movie Talk episode with Kevin and Drew? Are you ready? Are you ready?
Are you ready?
Yeah, so we're getting down to it today. I chose a movie called Beautiful Boy. If you never heard of it, it's an Amazon original. That's probably why.
Hey, it's all right.
But it was, yeah.
And then I chose M. Night Shyamalan movie. I know Shyamalama Ding Dong, but this one I feel like is a good one. I chose Split.
Split. Beautiful Split.
Beautiful Split.
Sounds like some sexual innuendo.
Like a nice, pretty little pink.
Split. Split those legs open.
That beautiful split.
So, without further dudes, let's do a snapshot and kick into this bitch. I don't know, what should we do?
Finger guns.
Split. So yeah, here we are again. It's been a minute since we've done one of these.
Yeah.
And even that being said, I don't have much of a list of movies just because I've been playing Red Dead, like I told you.
Yeah, man.
Spending all my time on Red Dead Online. I was never an online Red Dead player, but then I've just been getting into it lately.
Sure.
Been playing with CJ and shit, so it's been fun. So, what have you watched? You want to go movie for movie?
Yeah. So I'll go with the newest movie I just watched, which was Renfield.
Renfield.
I really liked
Nicolas Cage.
It's right up my alley. It's a comedy horror. Like it completely.
Is it good?
It's
I
good.
don't know. I don't know if
I like those kind of movies. So like I like that like Evil Dead, Army of Darkness. It's kind of in that vein where it's like it's kind of silly, kind of sinister, but it's overall pretty funny and entertaining.
Hell yeah.
And it's like it doesn't. The thing I like about it is it doesn't take itself too seriously.
Right.
And like honestly, the last couple of Nick Cage movies, he's been so fucking good. Like,
are you talking about like Pig or?
So I'm talking about this one in Redfield. He plays Dracula, and
right.
he doesn't oversell it. Like, but you buy him being Dracula. You buy him being like this narcissistic, all-powerful, overbearing personality, and it's really entertaining to watch him like in a role like that. The one movie I saw that he was in last summer was the
Massive Talent one.
The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, and Pedro Pascal is also in that movie, and they're so fun together. It was so funny.
Yeah, Nate was talking about that yesterday.
Yeah,
I don't know. Nicolas Cage hasn't been good in a while, but I obviously haven't seen these newer movies. But
I think he's one of those. I think he's kind of like him. Even though Will Ferrell's only a comedic actor for the most part, I think him and Will Ferrell and like people like that that oversell things.
Sure. Yeah.
They either are really good or really bad, and there's really not an in between.
What are some of the best Nicolas Cage movies? Raising Arizona.
That's a great one.
Right.
Fucking Face Off is great.
Face Off. We did Face Off on this podcast before.
Yeah, Face Off is great.
I think Mike picked it.
I would say.
Can't even think of them right now. Gone in 60 Seconds. That wasn't that good, was it?
Yeah, I think it's like it was cool when it first came out, and
I want to take his face.
Now, some of his later movies though have been better. Yeah.
I heard that Pig movie was good. It was just called Pig.
Oh yeah. There's a horror movie he's in called Mandy that's really fucking good.
Right on. Let me throw one out there. I watched this movie called Obvious Child. It's Jenny Slate, who I love. She's great. It's very funny. It's got great jokes. It's got a bit of dramedy, but it's drama, but there's mostly comedy. It's basically it's an abortion movie. That's
awesome.
Basically what it's about.
That's awesome.
She hooks up with a guy one night stand type of thing and ends up getting pregnant. All that stuff. It was funny though. It had a lot of great jokes, and I was laughing at it. I would definitely recommend that one. People check it out. What else you got?
So I watched, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time. I think it's Morgan Freeman's best performance. Seven. I watched Seven.
What's in the box?
I fucking love that movie. Now, granted, like if you've seen it a bunch of times, like that twist ending, it's kind of like ruined. So, but just even going back and watching just how good the performances of each actor is, and like how I think the thing I admire about the movie the most is that they imagine to conjure like all these really graphic images, but they don't actually show anything violent. Like it's almost everything that you like that it makes you uncomfortable that you see is just them talking about it, and it's like the picture they paint in your head, it makes it so much worse. And they really, what they do is they just kind of give you like, you see like little pieces of evidence and little clues, and you kind of just piece it all together. And I think that's something that is kind of lacking in today's movie world, is like there's always this eagerness to like be gross and over the top and violent. And I mean, I love that type of thing, but I think we've kind of lost that edge where you can make something way more uncomfortable and disturbing by not showing it, by letting the audience picture those things in their mind, and like really kind of giving them the context of like, hey, this is this horrible scene, this is what happened to this person, and like they kind of slowly drip those details to you, so you get like a very vivid image in your mind. And they don't really do that with movies anymore. They kind of just beat you over the head with everything now.
So were you always like, did you always like this movie? When was like the first time you see it? Like
the first time I saw it was I was a teenager.
Was it like
it's
brand
been
new movie?
No.
Me and Sarah watched it like maybe a year or two for the first time ago. A year or two ago.
Sure.
And we thought it was okay. It didn't like blow our minds or nothing.
Sure.
It was just, I don't know. Maybe you had to be in that time. You know what I mean?
I don't think necessarily. I mean, it's not a movie for everybody. Because it's like it's a little slower. It's like a detective thriller. I think that like the motivation, I think like just how it's presented, it like feels so real to me. Like this is like something that could happen in the real world. Like somebody like this taken to an extreme, like this kind of ideology could happen, and like the road they go down to these events happening is I don't know. I just always felt like I appreciated it for like its rawness and its realness. It didn't like go out of its way to try and be anything that it's not.
Sure.
And also I just think that Morgan Freeman, Brad Pitt, and the little bit that Kevin Spacey's in the actual movie, like they all like are like so convincing. But like it's just like little things about
8-year-olds, dude. Sorry.
No, you're good. I fucking love that movie.
Spacey's
man.
A pedo.
I fucking yeah, he is.
Pederass.
Yep.
Isn't also Gwyneth Paltrow? Is that her in that movie?
Yeah, she's in that movie too. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. How would you like one of her vagina candles? Would you buy one? She has scented candles that are supposed to smell like her vagina. You ever heard that? You never heard that?
That's the wildest thing I've ever heard.
That beautiful split.
Beautiful split, yeah. I mean, she's got tons of money.
She's hot though.
She is hot, yeah. She probably does have a beautiful split. Like
beautifully scented. Let's see. The next one I watched was King of Comedy. Do you know this movie? It's a Martin Scorsese, 1982. It's got
yeah, it's a De Niro movie.
De Niro,
I
yes.
know of it. I've never seen it.
Yeah, it's weird. He's like, he's a stand-up comic, and he's trying to get on this late night show, like a Johnny Carson type show, and but he's like, he goes over the top, like he's so obsessed with this guy, the late night host and shit, and he like stalks him and like tries to get him. He goes into his fucking office every day asking for him and shit, just trying to get on the show and shit, and then it progresses into like a whole kidnapping thing, and I don't know, it was pretty fun. It's a fun movie.
Yeah, I know.
Decent watch.
I understand it's kind of a total departure from what Scorsese usually does.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, there is still some crime in there, and
There's always crime in Scorsese movies.
right. But yeah, that was fun. Other than that, you got anything else?
The last one I watched, and it's kind of part of the reason I brought up Will Ferrell. I watched Talladega Nights.
Oh
That
yeah,
movie
I watched
cracks.
that recently.
That movie cracks my shit up,
It's
man,
pretty
every
good.
time.
It's funny. See,
If you ain't first, you're last. Like, shake and bake. How about that? That blow your mind?
I was kind of against that movie because like I seen it a long time ago and like didn't watch the whole thing, but you know, just because I wasn't enjoying it or whatever. But then I revisited it, you know, not that long ago, and I was like, it's better than I thought it, you know, than I gave it credit for back then. It's still not my favorite, but like
It's one of those movies. It's fucking dumb, and you know it's dumb, but it's still there's still like there's lines in that movie that just crack my shit up.
Yeah.
Like when the little kid is like being so disrespectful to his grandpa. He's like, "I'm all jacked up on Mountain Dew. I'm gonna come at you like a spider monkey, Chip." Like just shit like that. It's just so over the top.
Yeah.
This shit. It's the exact kind of shit you expect in a Will Ferrell movie. And that's kind of like what I was saying though, man. Is like all his movies really have that similar vibe where he's like way over the top and it's like kind of stupid and ridiculous, and sometimes he pulls it off, and then sometimes it's like with Step Brothers. Step Brothers is fucking great. It's so dumb.
I love that one.
But it's so funny. But then you have movies like, I don't know if you saw
we got this jumbo fly flying around here. I don't know if people on YouTube could see him.
he did they did another movie together, him and John C. Reilly. It was a Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
And that one was bad.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I never
It
watched
was
it.
bad. The funniest parts in the movie were in the commercials. It's just like, he's like, a lady doctor, but we have a real male doctor right here. He's like, oh, your elbow hurts? Would you like some heroin? Like,
Don't you hate how they fucking give
Yeah.
away all the good shit in the trailers nowadays? Like, you see a trailer and you're like, all right, I get it. I don't need to watch the movie.
well, and sometimes some of the coolest scenes that are in the trailers don't end up in the movies. They end up being cut because they don't really fit in the space of the movie. That's why sometimes you when you see like a cool scene in a trailer and you go to the movie, that scene isn't in the trailer. It's because the trailer was cut before the movie was finalized. Like,
Right. Last one I watched was The Big Lebowski yesterday at the theater. We went to the theater.
I wish I could have gone, man. I wanted to go so bad.
It was a lot of fun. And Mike had to fucking bail on us. He didn't realize it was on a Thursday, and so he had to do band practice or whatever. So
Yo.
he gave up his ticket, and we gave it to our buddy Tom Segura, who, you know, we call him Tom Segura because he looks like Tom Segura.
No shit. It's funny.
But yeah, this guy I know met at the bar and shit, and we've been hanging out for a while. But yeah, so it was me, him, Nate, and Keith. We all went, and dude, I gotta tell you, man, it was so much fun, man. Like seeing it in a theater with a group of people, it amplifies it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
It's kind of more funny.
It's more of an experience too. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. It was awesome. And they had this thing at the beginning too, just this guy talking about the movie and the experiences and all the fun stuff about the movie. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Obviously, I've seen that movie a million times.
Yo,
And,
that actually is another one of my favorite movies. That's why I was bummed.
all-time favorite, bro.
Yeah.
What a great movie, and it's the reason my dad is in a Folgers can.
No shit.
Yeah, there's some of my dad's ashes in there.
That's wild, man.
Because, Donnie, whatever.
Yep, they couldn't afford a actual urn for him. Yeah.
Yeah, they didn't want to pay
So
for the
you can put them in any receptacle. Then, like, can they go?
He's like, is there Ralph's around here?
This is what happens when you fuck a stranger in the ass.
My fucking car. I just bought that shit last week. Oh, man.
Walter, oh man, Walter
Walter's one of the
so,
best characters
he's
of all
so
time.
quotable. I'm not leaving. I'm finishing my coffee.
You want a toe? I'll get you a toe.
Fucking amateurs.
Over the line.
You're over the line, Smokey.
It's a league game, Smokey. Market zero.
Why the only one that gives a shit about the rules?
Nobody fucks with the Jesus.
He's a pederast, dude.
Yeah.
Creep can roll, man.
8-year-olds, dude.
8-year-olds, dude.
Pull your piece out. I'll take it from you. Stick it up your ass and pull the trigger till it goes click.
Nobody fucks with the Jesus.
He's like, Jesus, you said it, man. Yeah, he's all doing the ball shining thing.
Yeah, fucking licking the ball. Yeah, it's
Hotel California. In Spanish,
yeah.
yeah. So, what movie do you want to get into first? There, Pacha?
I think we should talk about Split first because I think we're both maybe gonna have more to say about Beautiful Boy. So,
All right. Cool. Split is a 2016 horror thriller, sort of.
yeah. I would say it's more on their like thriller and suspense side than horror. Like that's more the vibe I get when I watch it.
Director M. Night Shyamalan. We got a 78 tomato meter and a 79 audience score.
So audiences
that's a decent score.
I think it's pretty on the level for this movie. I think I didn't do it purposely because I had no idea what Beautiful Boy was.
Yeah.
I think these movies actually pair pretty well together, honestly.
You think so?
Yeah,
I didn't think about that. I guess we'll get into that later. But,
yeah.
But yeah, as for this one, I got a tagline. It says, Kevin has 23 distinct personalities. The 24th is about to be unleashed. Which fits,
Yeah.
but it's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine tagline. I didn't know what to expect going into this movie, and it's definitely not what I expected. I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely different.
I don't know what I expected, but it wasn't this. But it's interesting. So, I mean, this guy, he's got a bunch of different personalities. Does he go through them all throughout the whole movie? Or just the main ones?
So essentially, the ones you see the most are the ones that are in control of him right now.
Right.
Which are David and Patricia and Hedwig, which is the kid.
The kid.
Yep. And so how these personalities came about, I don't know if you caught it. So I've watched this movie a few times now. But Kevin is the actual person's name is Kevin.
Right.
Kevin. But he had an extremely traumatic childhood, and that is how his personality started to form.
Right.
So the David personality, the one that is like kidnapping girls, and spoiler alert.
Yeah.
But the one who is extreme OCD, it was developed. It developed in early childhood because his mother was, she was abusive, but she was had an extremely like obsessive compulsive OCD disorder, and so he developed this personality who had extreme OCD because by keeping the house really clean and like almost spotless, it kept him from getting beat all the time. And so that's where the parallel of basically our two main characters are paralleled from one each other, because one deals with her trauma in a different way than what Kevin does. So Kevin couldn't handle his trauma, and
You're talking about Casey, right?
Yeah, Casey, the
Anya
girl.
Taylor-Joy.
Yep. Yeah, it's pretty clear that she was sexually abused as a child, like, and she lives with her sexually abusive uncle.
Which is interesting. You got Kevin and Casey, me, and my brother's name was Casey. So, I don't know. It's just interesting.
But I don't know. I just find the psychological component of it fascinating, because it's somebody who went through a shit ton of trauma, and then their mind fractured into all these personalities.
Different personalities, yeah. And then you got the psychiatrist or whatever.
Who is trying to unpack this for them and trying to help this person who is, deeply disturbed. And, like, some of his personalities are clearly very dangerous.
Yeah, for sure. So, yeah, he kidnaps these 3 girls at the beginning and fucking locks them up in the zoo, apparently.
Yep, that's was something that's
which
wild.
Which is weird. How did they not? Was the zoo closed or something? How did they not notice?
It's in the maintenance part of the zoo, so it would be a place where only personnel.
And that was his job, right?
And that was his job. And you got to think too. These girls, it's not like they've been missing for a long period of time. They've only been missing for like a day. So before police reports even allow you to file missing persons, I think you have to be gone for like 48 to 72 hours, something like that. Yeah. So this movie literally takes place in the span of like a single day.
I see.
So that's something where it's like, and he has them there overnight, so there's not going to be almost anybody in the zoo overnight. So it is kind of if you notice, he's keeping them very close to like the parts of the zoo that go unused, because they're like extra spaces in case they need to like house animals or whatever. So this is like taking place over like the course of like the night, where nobody would be there. Nobody knows where these girls are. So it's kind of like the perfect little place to.
But he did all the alterations to it, like put up the drywall and shit.
Yep.
Right?
Because he'd been planning. Well, like I said, I've seen this movie a few times, so there's like little things I caught. Like
yeah.
He talks about Casey's character. She wasn't initially planned to take her. She just happened to be in the car. That's why she ended up there with the 2 other girls. Mm-hmm. It was the 2 other girls who he talks about how he'd been following them for months to get their patterns down.
He sprays that shit in their faces first.
Yep, it's a form of chloroform. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
To draw, and then she almost tries to leave, and he ends up spraying her as well. But yeah. A random thing I noticed. This is off all the storyline and not related to the storyline or nothing. But I noticed while they were hunting, during the flashback or whatever, he hands them a beer, and it's a beer I've seen before in other TV shows and shit.
No shit.
Yeah. So basically, it's like a Hollywood beer thing.
No kidding.
It's like a made-up beer.
It's a made-up beer company, sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's probably so they don't have to pay like licensing for it and shit. Yeah.
Right. And then I looked it up. See, because I seen the can and I was like, I know that can, and I was like, that must be a thing. So I looked it up, and it says, Heisler Beer is the creation of the TV and film industry's leading prop supplier, Independent Studio Services. Specifically, it was designed by their in-house creative team, Studio Graphics, ISS headquarters in, of course, Southern California, where it began in the late 70s. So it's Heisler Beer. They drink it on Workaholics, dude.
No shit. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Did you ever think a M. Night Shyamalan movie and Workaholics would have something in common?
Yeah. Yeah. That's fun. Like, I'm I'm gonna be looking out for that shit more in movies. You know?
Hell
what I mean? It's like that Wilhelm scream. You know what that is?
Yep, from Star Wars. Yep, yep. That shit pops up in so many movies and shows and shit.
It's funny. Okay, what else we got? What did I write down? The therapist believes that trauma is brought on. That trauma brought on the split personalities, and she also believes that it's kind of a superpower type thing. So you think she wants to go around traumatizing kids now to give them superpowers? No, I'm kidding. That's a joke.
I will say
that would be funny if that was her her argument. We should traumatize these kids because then there will be superpowers.
Well,
superhuman.
This movie does tie into a trilogy, but you wouldn't know.
Yeah, they set it up right at the end with
Bruce Willis. Yeah, because it's his character from the first time that M. Night Shyamalan did this kind of movie. It's like his take on a superhero movie, but I like that it's like dark and gritty. I think the part of it one of my favorite scenes, and it's such a visceral scene in the entire movie, is when he becomes the Beast personality, which is who he truly is, and he's literally bending the fucking steel bars that are made to house grizzlies and shit like that. It's made to house very large animals,
right?
And you're just pulling it apart, but the tension of it is literally he's clenching his jaw so much that it's causing him to bleed from his gums because he's squeezing his and that's it's just such a crazy scene, man.
That shit was wild.
And I just love that that interpretation of being something more is something that should be feared, and it's a fucking terrifying thing that if somebody like this existed, it would be horrifying, and it would be dangerous for the rest of us.
Hell yeah.
And I think that's an interesting perception on that. And I enjoy how there's this point in the movie where they've been talking about this Beast personality for a while, and you kind of just assume that the Beast is just he's just a serial killer, and it's that part of that part of Kevin that has been compartmentalized, and it's all his trauma. So when I first watched this movie the very first time, I just thought, okay, so the Beast personality is his is the darkest part of himself that he's compartmentalized, and so when he finally lets all that negativity out, that's his serial killer persona, and he just thinks that. But I was wrong. I was actually surprised to see that the Beast personality is kind of superhuman. I wasn't expecting that.
I do have a couple of nitpicky things about this movie.
No, yeah, go for it, man.
The two girls, not Anya Taylor-Joy, but the other two, I thought they weren't very good actresses.
No, that's kind of something I kind of noticed too. Is
they're not great.
The movie really is kind of the only people that their performances I would praise are James McAvoy and
he's great.
Anna Joy Taylor. Yeah, him just switching from personality.
Speaking of that, he's playing a handful of different characters, so I mean that it's got to be fun for the actor. It seems like that would be an awesome part to get, because you get to fucking
really express yourself. Yeah,
a wide variety of.
I was before you get into
and even as a woman, you had to play a woman type
Patricia.
character.
Yeah. And wears the high heels and everything, and he rocks it. I was gonna say, you asked about the 23 personalities.
Yeah,
it's a real short bit, but when Anna Joy Taylor's character like gets onto his computer. She starts going through all the files. No, unfortunately we don't get to see all 23, but we get to see a lot more. And then I find it interesting that when they finally do wake Kevin up, he's really just kind of a normal person who has, because
when she calls his name.
Yep, and it kind of snaps him out of it. And you realize how much time he's lost. And I find that to be very interesting. Like he hasn't, like, you know, so as he's these different personalities.
He hasn't been in the spotlight in forever.
Yep.
And, you know, the spotlight being the conscious being of which personality is in his body at that time. Or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, what else you gotta say? I thought when she's trying to open it's like, they lock the other two girls up in different rooms, right? And they've been in there for like a minute or whatever, and then it seems like, and then one of them goes, "Look around the room for something we can use," and I was like, "You didn't think about that earlier?" You know, that's some of my nitpicky things. And then another, like with the slide lock thing, and when she's trying to unlock it, I'm like, that's not how those locks work.
Yeah, that there was like some things that are a little phony.
Yeah,
I'd like to give a counterpoint to why they didn't try to escape. Because I think it was because they had already tried to escape, and he had terrified them so much that they were afraid what he would do if they tried and got caught again. But what makes them attempt to escape the second time is when the old woman opens the door, because then they realize there is someone there that might be able to help them.
Okay, yeah, you got a point there. You got a point. Yeah, I don't know if I have much else for this. He's all climbing on the walls for no reason.
Superhuman, man. Yeah, that there are parts of this movie that
It's like he walks in a room and just starts climbing on the walls, and then just gets back down on the floor. It was like
he drops because she snaps him out of that persona, because he's on the wall when he starts calling his name. So it's not like he actually like drops off, because like he's shedding that personality, because that personality is the only one. Well, they make an interesting point how and they're talking about this in the movie, where the psychiatrist is saying how people with split personalities, sometimes there are like health conditions that only manifest within a personality. So it changes the brain chemistry. So she brings up an example of a blind woman in Germany, but the blind woman has another personality that has 20/20 vision.
Yeah.
And then she brings it up again. She had another case where you would have all these personalities, but then only one of them has high blood pressure, and while they're that personality, they have to take medication for it. It actually comes up with Kevin. One of his personalities, Jade, is a diabetic, and I think it's fun.
Diabetic.
I just think it's fun how this movie plays with something that we don't really understand, which is how our bodies are affected by our brains, like the neurological aspect of what your brain does to your body.
That's kind of like the placebo effect is like an example of that, right?
And also there's to expand upon it a little more. It's kind of like the beast personality. I mean, there are aspects of it I totally give you that are ridiculous. However, I still think it's kind of done well enough to where it's like showing what realistically like a superhuman would be like. And this, it's almost akin to like when he becomes the beast. It's kind of akin to when somebody's like super high on PCP or crystal meth. Like there are people that are take those substances who have literally fought off like 10 people at once.
That was another weird thing.
Or punched straight through a fucking plate glass window, you know what I mean? But go ahead. Yeah, but go ahead with another weird thing.
Another weird thing is like, but when he's about to turn into the beast, he goes to like the subway or something, waits for a train, gets on the train, there's nobody on the train, turns on into the beast.
And then they talk about that too. So it's definitely
up with that.
Well, explain to us why this is, Drew. Like that's going to be a new segment on the podcast. Explain to this. As somebody that watched.
This is my first time watching.
Yeah. I think the funnest part of the movie.
I didn't understand.
Is James McAvoy's performance. Like I think it's so fun to watch him.
I agree. He was really freaking good. It's an impressive performance.
But they don't talk about it a lot, but the therapist brings it up, and I think it's interesting. They talk about this is where James McAvoy's father died, and I think it had a huge impact on him because then, he's left alone with his fucking crazy mom who has been super abusive. Like, there's a lot of... So this movie doesn't do the traditional thing where they just beat you over the head with explanations, but they kind of just leave little clues, and it almost requires another watch for you to pick up on some things, because it's stuff that I didn't pick up the first time I watched it, but I was like, oh, that makes sense. Like, the darkest moment in his life was his father dying on the train tracks, that's what the flower that's what the flowers were about when he puts the flowers on the ground. That's kind of like a memento to where his father died, and I think that's why it correlates so strongly with the beast, because like that was the darkest moment in his life, and so that's like when his mind is able to like really tap into that darkness and become this thing.
Okay. But there's no one on the subway or what?
That's actually if you kind of think about at what point in the night this probably would be. This is probably like
Where
one, two.
Where does this take place?
They don't really say. If I had to guess, it would be like New York, somewhere like that. Yeah. So at super late at night, and what he's on looks like one of those abandoned or stationary trains that aren't moving. I mean, there's a lot of fucking empty trains in the train yard, 2-3 o'clock in the morning, which is kind of like, I don't know exactly the time frame, but it's kind of, and I could be wrong, viewers, if you know the answers, please tell me. I'm more
let us know in the comments.
But I believe, like I said before, this kind of takes place all either like in a day. I would say it's no more than like a 2-day span, but I think it takes place in a single day, because you see the psychiatrist twice in the movie. Like he sees her twice, I think, before I think he sees her twice. So I think
before she shows up to the
Yep.
Yeah.
So it might possibly be a couple days, but it's a very short amount of time.
All right. Well, basically, he gets away at the end. Spoiler. But yeah.
So he can do it all again and kill some.
That's when they set up the second movie, which I haven't seen either.
Don't watch it. It's not good.
Really?
Yeah. I think the one with Bruce Willis where Unbreakable. I think that one's pretty good. It's kind of like this one. It's slower. It's kind of a what if, what if there were.
What if?
But it's not like they're fucking punching mountains or throwing lightning or doing like crazy superhero shit. It's very, very grounded, to where Bruce Willis's character in the first movie, essentially what his deal is his body just can't break. Like his tendons, his bones, they will not break. He doesn't get sick. Like,
nice.
So
that's convenient.
But But he is extremely uncomfortable in water, so much so that if he is in it too long, he starts to drown and he will become very sick.
I see. So, rewatchability. Would you do it?
Yeah,
would you rewatch this?
I would rewatch it. Yeah,
I gotta be honest. I don't know. I don't see myself rewatching this one.
and that's fair.
It's fair. All right. How about rating?
I think I liked it a lot more the very first time I watched it. After rewatching it, just on the sole fact of, I just think it's so fun to watch James McAvoy perform. He's just so fucking good in this movie. That's why I give it a 6.5. Like,
If you're watching just for him, yeah, I can see that.
like there are like I did notice it this time watching. I was like, yeah, there's some shit I can definitely pick apart about this movie.
Yeah. I think I'm at like a 5.5 or something around there. It's an average score.
Yeah. I kind of that's kind of actually where I thought you were gonna be, honestly. Like after I watched this movie,
Did you rent it or did you?
I rented
have
it. Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
yeah, me too. All right. Should we take a quick break and then jump into the next one?
Sure, man.
Take a whiz real quick.
What did you think of On the Wizard?
This is what I thought of On the Wizard. We are back and we're drinking that queer beer. Yeah, you heard
Bud
all
Light, more like Bud Luscious.
you heard all that.
Oh yeah,
All that shit going on with Bud Light.
yeah, and how it's like being boycotted because it's got a trans person promoting it now.
Who gives a fuck? You fucking idiots. Fucking Kid Rock and shit. You see Kid Rock's video?
Yeah, blown up. Yeah,
Yeah, shooting guns at
It's
it.
like- it's like,
oh,
you know-
yeah, you're cool.
it's like I'm not even a big fan of Bud Light. Like it's like not. I was like, I
It's
drink it
just a
because
beer.
it's just a beer, yeah. But it's like I don't care. I don't give a fuck. Like it's easy to drink. Like it doesn't. It's not like the formula for the beer has changed at all. Like
Right.
it's like who fucking cares who's the spokesperson for it? It's
They
like
put
it's
trans
not-
people jizz in it now. Yeah. I
maybe
didn't
it
know
make
if
it
you knew
taste
that.
better. I don't know.
All right, so the next movie we're talking about is the one I picked, Beautiful Boy, starring Steve Carell and Timothy Chalamet, and that one chick from Liar Liar. You know, the wife.
Yep. I know exactly what you're talking about.
And she's also from News Radio. Remember
No
that?
shit.
Remember
I've
that?
never seen it. I just know of it. I just know there was a bunch of like famous people on it. Like
Yeah, Joe Rogan,
Yep.
Andy Dick, what's his face? Troy McClure. What's his name? Phil Hartman.
Oh, Phil Hartman. I didn't
Yeah.
realize he was on that show. Yeah.
He's in there. Dave Foley. All right, Beautiful Boy, 2018 drama. Director, I'm gonna get this name wrong probably. Felix van Grogingen. All right. That was fun. 68% tomato meter, 77 audience, which is around.
It's kind of where Split was. Kind of like yeah.
Split was a little higher, but yeah. This is more my type of movie, though, I think.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of why I picked Split, because I knew it wasn't going to be your type of movie, but I just wanted to.
Which is cool, man. I
Yeah.
don't mind watching movies that are
now
that are outside of my.
Now that we're talking about Beautiful Boy, I think I'm going to talk about the correlation with all the mental health stuff. I think that's kind of why these movies correlate.
Oh yeah. You're saying these movies,
Correlate
are similar.
Similar in the fact that sometimes when people let themselves slide so much into darkness, they kind of start to get illusions of grandeur, you know what I mean? I think there's like a big parallel between both of these movies for that, because you have like two of the main characters who are clearly like they need help, but instead of, and it's not even that they're not trying, but they're also making decisions that are in total opposition to what they're trying to accomplish, and they end up
Right.
like taking the hard dark road down, and like, and you see like the repercussions of like what that is.
Absolutely right, bro.
And I'm not gonna lie, this movie was a rough watch. I mean, I actually really liked this movie. I actually think I liked it more than I like watching Split. And I've, you know, and I am a James McAvoy fan. I love James McAvoy.
What else is he doing?
He's been in a lot of movies, man.
Wasn't he in that Wanted movie?
Yeah, it's unfortunate that that's where he gets his
That's
start.
the only one I recognize him from.
He was in.
He was like Star Trek or something.
No, he was in the X-Men movies,
Oh,
but
X-Men.
he's been in a
It's
lot
all the
of.
same to me. No, I'm kidding.
He's been in a lot of aside from his like X-Men fame, he's been in a lot of like smaller movies like Split that he's really really good in, and I really enjoy him in roles like that where he's like just really allowed to fucking act because he's just so fucking good at it. And honestly, man, this is I'm gonna say this is the best I've ever seen Steve Carell
That's what I was
in a
saying,
dramatic
dude.
role. I mean, I've seen Foxcatcher, and he's good in that movie, but I think he's way better in this movie. I was
That's what I was
kind of
saying.
surprised.
When I picked it, I was like, Steve Carell, man, he can act, bro. I was telling you, man, I was like, he can really fucking.
he really
He's got some acting chops.
he sells it for me in this movie.
But then there's also the times you hear fucking, The Office in his voice. You hear it in his voice. You like, that's Michael Scott. What is
Michael
his name?
Scott, yep, it's Michael Scott, yeah.
Yeah.
But I didn't really get that, man. I kind of totally managed. And part of that is because I fucking hate Michael Scott as a character.
He's
love.
so fucking funny, dude.
He
I mean,
no, I don't
he's
get me wrong.
obviously like a fucking obnoxious guy, but
Yeah.
he does it so well. And it's,
No.
and the shit is so funny.
No,
It's
I don't.
hard
I
to
don't
hate
think. I don't hate
him.
him.
He does have a heart too in that show.
My thing though is I don't think the show would be the same without him. I think it requires him. It's just everything he does in the show is so cringeworthy that it makes me react in a visceral way where I'm just like, oh. But like the way he like sets up the rest of everyone else, like it's almost like he's allowing himself to be the bad guy so everybody else can play off of that and be so fucking funny. And I respected him so much for like taking that role, because that can't be easy to be the character that like nobody really likes, because you're just like, dude, oh man, it's just not funny. And that was kind of always the thing, is because I think Dwight actually always made me laugh more than Michael did, but he was always treating Dwight like a plague. And I just found that so funny. Like he's like when he's sick and he needs someone to come pick him up, and he's like, please tell me it's not Dwight. Please tell me it's not Dwight. It's what? I'm coming, Michael.
Or Toby.
Sorry,
He fucking hates Toby. But the way I think the way you feel about Steve Carell in that role is the way Sarah feels about Ben Stiller in a lot of things, because Ben Stiller could be an asshole.
Oh
in a
yeah.
lot of shit,
Oh
right?
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like Heavyweights and like Happy Gilmore.
Oh,
and
yeah.
shit, and fucking.
You're in my world now, Grandma.
That's why she doesn't like Ben Stiller, because of them roles. But he plays the asshole so good.
Yes, he does, dude. Yeah. Oh, we kind of digressed a little bit, but that's all right.
That's all right. We'll get back on track. Beautiful Boy. Let me throw out a tagline.
Yeah, throw out a tagline, man.
A true story of addiction, survival, and family. Which I didn't realize it was a true story when I picked it this time.
Yeah, when those credits hit, I was like, "Fuck!" That just hit me on another level.
And then the other one is see the movie, start the conversation. The time is now, which is a little preachy, but but yeah, I didn't know it was a true story. The director's drama Beautiful Boy is based upon a pair of best-selling memoirs by journalist David Sheff and his son Nick Sheff. The film follows the lives of Nick and his family. Nick's teen years into his 20s during his drug. I don't know if I wrote that down right.
It sounds pretty
But
accurate,
yeah,
actually.
Active addiction, recovery, and relapse, which is so sad.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think
he
they're
relapses so much.
well, and that's I'm not an addict. You know what I mean? I would say what I'm a functional compulsory person. So like what I mean by that is I do a lot of things that are very compulsive, but I always show up to work. You know what I mean? Like I'll always be on work on time.
Sure.
You know, I might be hungover as fuck.
Yeah, you
but,
don't let it.
But it doesn't affect my day-to-day life. But that doesn't mean that I can't. I don't. The thing that hit me the most in this movie,
I'm a functioning alcoholic.
is when
There's a Mark Norman joke about that.
But when he's at that like the drug meeting, and he's like kind of like saying his truth, as when he's saying like, you know, I was doing all these things to fill this void in myself. He's like, and no matter how much crystal meth or how much heroin I did, he's like, I'd always need more to try and get that euphoric feeling. And that shit fucking
hits home.
Hit me hard, bro. Because that's a feeling. I mean, I didn't before, and I've told some people this. I don't know if I've ever told you this, but when my fiance left me, in which, I mean, you know, we were young. I don't hold that against her. The relationship just wasn't working out for her. And, you know, you kind of got to respect that when someone is that honest with you. Where they're like, I love you, but I can't
you were engaged.
Yeah. But after I moved back to Chicago, and I got myself in some shit, man. And I got addicted to coke for a while. Like, and I was doing a lot of bad shit that I shouldn't have been fucking doing. And I had to move. I had to move away from my family, even though, like, you know, like my cousin Chris. Shout out to my fucking Chris Waymeyer. Like,
hey, yo, Chris.
That dude has always been there for me. He's like my little brother. He's like my little big brother. Like, he's younger than me, but he's way more fucking responsible than I've ever been. But he's always been there for me. Like, his mom's always been there for me. Like, my grandparents, like my mom, my aunts, uncles, like all my family's always been fucking great. But I've always been the kind of person where, like, I'm not going to ask you for help if I'm going through fucked up situations. I'm just going to figure it out and deal with it.
I know, it's hard. It's hard asking for help, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep. And so, like, I had to move away to fucking break that habit. And I did. Like, I ever since I've left Chicago, I've literally never done coke again. It's been almost 10 years. It's been almost 10 years since I've done a line, man.
Way to go.
Thanks. Unfortunately,
that shit is addicting.
Well, unfortunately, I replaced it with doing another thing, which is fucking whoever will fuck me. and I've done that. I did that for a long, long time, man.
You got a sex addiction? We're gonna fucking what's it called? Shit.
Have an intervention for me. Yeah. Well, that's what I'm talking about, though, man. Is that's why it hit home, because I was doing things to fill a void. I wasn't really aware of it until I became aware of it. And so when he said that line, I was like, fuck, that's some real shit. I'm not pity. I'm not trying to
no
intersect, but I feel that, because I'm like, that's real shit, man. Like, people, like, I've lived that truth, like, where I'm like doing all this different shit to where I think, okay, and it's like, I'm gonna feel good for a little while,
for the short term, yeah.
And then I'm gonna hit that low, and I kind of had to accept, like, you know, this shit's not gonna make me happy. This shit, it's not important. Like, so now, like, I've been trying to get away from that and not do any of that kind of shit anymore, and, you know, figure out the shit that actually makes me happy, the shit that's actually going to fulfill me. And that's fucking hard, man. Mm-hmm. It's a hard thing to be like, okay, I've got this emptiness inside of me. How can I do this in a constructive way that's going to be fulfilling for me?
Yeah. And, you know, there's a lot of addiction in my family too, man. You know, so this movie does relate to me very well in that sense too. You know, some of us siblings, it hit harder than others, but, you know, and this movie, it makes me feel for the parent, you know.
Oh yeah.
Which I haven't gone through that, but that shit, we'll get to that part in a minute. But Yeah, this movie's very fucking powerful. But just for people out there who probably don't know, it's Steve Carell is the father, Timothy Chalamet is the son, and Timothy Chalamet is the drug problem and shit, and Steve Carell is doing everything to try to get him back on track and shit, and it's a big fucked up situation.
Well, it's done in such a believable manner, man. Like that's why I was from very early in the movie, I was hooked. Like I got hooked very early in the movie, and I couldn't take my eyes away. I was like fucking glued, man.
That's awesome.
I
thought it was cool.
And I
go ahead.
No, man. Go ahead. It's okay. I think we both have a lot to say about this movie. That's why I wanted to save it for a second. Like,
yeah. I don't know. I just thought it was cool how the kid was like a fucking metalhead and shit. He's got all these fucking metal posters and shit. He's rocking a Primus shirt.
Yeah. I noticed that.
He's singing Nirvana songs in the car and shit.
Yeah.
That's fun. And then, at one point, Timothy Chalamet pulls out a joint to smoke with his dad. And that's like the first Steve Carell really knows about him experimenting with any sort of drugs or whatever. And he smokes the joint with them. And then it apparently escalates really quickly for Timothy Chalamet's character, unbeknownst to Steve Carell, until he was missing for a couple of days, right?
Yep.
Towards the beginning,
and then he finds him sleeping in his bed.
Yeah, and he's like, "I just need to sleep, leave me alone," and he's pissy at his dad and shit.
Yep. Well, I think later in the movie, he actually admits that by the time he had smoked that joint with his dad, Steve Carell, he had actually been doing a lot of different drugs for a while.
Yeah, just pretty much anything and everything.
Yeah,
right?
but the one that really hooked him was meth, which I think there's a point in the movie where Steve Carell actually does a line of meth to try and understand where his son is coming from.
That part was very
wild.
very interesting because he's like he's determined to figure out everything about this drug and shit. He
just wants to help his son so badly.
Exactly, and he wants to understand this drug. He goes out and he finds like a meth addict, buys her like a dinner and shit just to talk to her and shit, and then ends up buying some meth off her and then snorts it. Does he snort it?
He snorts it. Yep.
Snorts it.
He snorts it like
in
you would
big
coke,
ass nose.
Which I've never done meth. I don't know anything about meth. Like I've never done what I call the big three, which are meth, heroin, and crack. Like those are the ones no matter what the instance was, those are the ones I always stayed away from.
Yeah, the no.
I've always kind of had a compulsive personality anyway, so I've always known to stay away from shit like that. Because I once I am into something, I'm kind of just compelled to do it over and over again. So I really kind of feel for Timothy Chalamet's character in this movie, because that was the fun.
Good too, huh? He's a good actor.
He was so convincing, man. Like being strung out, even some of my fucking friends in art school, man. Like, you could always tell when they were fucked up on some shit, because you can tell when somebody's strung out, man. What I love about this movie is people that don't understand addiction. And there's a lot of people that don't understand addiction.
Yeah.
Part of it does have to deal with the effects that the drug has on the brain, right? And when Steve Carell finally consults a real doctor / I don't know if he's a doctor or a scientist, but when they are showing him what this drug actually does to the brain and why putting him in rehab is really not a helpful solution, because the people that run the rehab have no idea how this drug actually affects people, and they're just kind of selling their god bullshit.
Yeah, doesn't he ask them their like success rate, and they're like,
"Oh, it's like
not very much."
Well, they lie to him. They're like, "Oh, well,
They
it
say
can be
like
up to 80%, but she's like, but on the low end it's 25%." And then the actual like science behind it, the person that is an expert, he's like, no, he's like, this drug melts away the neuron
receptors or whatever.
dopamine receptors, yeah,
Some shit like that.
melts away the dopamine receptors and puts the brain into a high crisis mode where it's always in fear and in high anxiety. And so the only way they can counteract that feeling is try and score them on meth, like. And so they spiral into this crazy cycle. But I think it also, what should be noted is people that struggle with addiction typically have compulsory issues anyway. You know what I mean? They struggle.
Yeah, for sure.
They struggle to not make impulsive decisions. And like someone can fucking try and fight me on this, but it's like I've lived some shit like this. I've never spiraled the way Timothy's character does, but I entirely understand like not really wanting to do something and then fucking doing it anyway because I have this impulse to do it constantly. You know what I mean? Like it's like
it's always on your mind.
Somebody
at
that,
least running in the back of your mind.
I know. I just understand addiction so fucking well, man. Like it's like this itch that no matter how many times you scratch it or like you're trying not to think about it, it's
always there.
It's like you always want to fucking scratch that itch.
It's just nagging you.
Yeah,
in the back of your mind.
It's crazy, man. And but people that don't either haven't dealt with this in their family or personally, they just don't understand the kind of compulsion that leads to this kind of behavior. And it's not that I'm making excuses for, like, I mean, you like ultimately, you fucking decided to smoke meth, you fucking shot that heroin in your veins, but there are other things going on in your brain that we should talk about. Like, it's not as black and white as people think it is. And I think this movie just does a great job of showing it. Because, I mean, there's so many times where fucking he wants to be done so badly.
Yeah.
He just fucking can't.
You can see it.
Or he when he is done, like, he's been sober for like a year and a half. And he's doing so well. But then he has a bad experience with his dad where his dad is like, I just can't trust you. So I'm going to need you to pee in this cup. He's like, you're acting a little funny. And it makes him spiral. He's just, and you know what I mean? Like, he's just like, I thought I was doing so well. And it puts him back in a dark place.
He goes back to that old bar where he used to score.
Yep. And he fucking hooks up with that girl.
Back in the cycle.
And he's fucking...
Yeah, that girl.
And he's fucking shooting heroin. And it's like the last thing you want to be doing is shooting heroin and fucking a girl without a condom that's shooting heroin. Because if she's sharing a needle with you, who the fuck else has she shared a needle with, man? Like, it's fucking crazy and dangerous behavior, man.
Scary. So, yeah, he was... Basically, he was... towards the beginning... He was missing for 2 days. He goes to rehab. He ditches rehab. He goes back. He ends up in a halfway house. Then he goes to college, and he steals prescription pills. Remember that from
his girlfriend's mom?
Yeah. Yep. And then heroin. Goes back home. Borrows the car from his dad for the meeting, and then he steals his younger kid's money.
His little sibling.
Yeah,
his little brother's savings. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, the little brother blames it on the sister, but the dad is like,
he knows what's happening.
This is fucked up. He's like, you literally took your little brother's money to score drugs, like.
And I think it was like $8 or something. Like, it wasn't even much.
When you're a junkie, dude, like, you're doing everything to get that fixed.
And then there's that one point where him and his girlfriend break back into their house and like steal a bunch of stuff, and they, I think that's more towards the end, but yeah. They steal a bunch of stuff from their dad's house, and then the wife ends up like chasing him down the street in the van and shit, but then eventually lets him go, crying. Yeah. What else we got? So, Nick's mom finally shows up somewhere in the later in the movie, which you kind of hear from her towards the beginning when Steve Carell calls her and shit. But it doesn't seem like she's very invested in. But she does let him in to her house for a while.
Well, I think it's interesting where there's kind of a moment where Steve Carell and her character, they flip-flop to where she's like, we can't leave him alone. Like, if we leave him alone, he's gonna die. She's like, he needs help, and I need you to help me help him. Like, I can't do this by myself. Like, she's kind of like, there's a point in the movie where she's finally fully committed to helping her son.
Right.
Because she knows he can't fight this on his own. But after everything that's happened, Steve Carell, and you can't even blame him. Like, I don't blame him. He has that moment to where he realizes
he's kind of done.
He's done, and the reason he's done is, he has 2 small children and another wife, and they broke into his house. They put his wife and children at risk, and so at that point, he's just like, it's not that I don't love you.
Gotta cut ties,
that was one of the most heartbreaking parts of the movie. I will say this movie didn't make me cry, but it definitely hit me.
It made me cry.
It hit me hard, man. Like, it was at times a very hard movie to watch.
This is the scene that made me cry. It's where Steve Carell, he's getting ready to leave to go find Nick, but his wife wants him to stay. And he says, my son is out there, and I don't know what he's doing, and I don't know how to help him. And she says, you can't. And that's what made me cry.
Because it's unfortunate, but it's true. Until you stick to your guns and you're like, I need help, and I have to stop doing this. I have to fight this, even though it's really, really fucking hard. Because I have this compulsory sense to do this thing because I spiral downwards. And then I have this need to fill this void. And the only way I can do that is to do the thing that gives me temporary relief. And so it's like I know where Nick's coming from, but it's like I totally get where Steve Carell's coming from, man. Because he's just like... He's like, I want to help you, and I can't, but I can't put my family at risk anymore, like, because, like, this, like, what you did was unacceptable. It's not that I don't love you. It's not that I don't forgive you.
Yeah.
It's like, I can't have this situation happen anymore.
Yeah, I mean, he really did his fucking part to try to help him as much as he could, like, to the extent of trying the drug himself, you know what I mean? Trying to understand it.
That was wild to me, because there's not many people that would go to that length to understand.
Yeah.
And to try and figure out a way.
Try and see shit through his eyes.
I thought one of the coolest moments in the fucking movie was when he finally looks at his son's notebook and he sees, like, the writing and the artwork in it.
Yeah.
And it talks about the first time he took, like, those prescription painkillers that he stole. And it's just his downward spiral. And it just, like, the notebook gets worse and worse and messier. The writing is almost illegible until it gets to that, like, page that's, like, almost in the end of the notebook. And you almost can't even fucking read it. It's just a
all
mess.
Jumbled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Nick is just, his son is just fried.
Yeah, man. It's just crazy. The cycle of addiction just keeps on happening throughout this whole movie, man. And it is, like you said, it's kind of devastating to watch. And it's hard to watch. It's not easy sometimes, especially if you have any, you know,
If you have
experience with that type of shit.
Yeah, it's...
And then, before we end this, there's also the part where the girlfriend almost dies.
She ODs, yeah.
Fuck. That was hard, too. And it was like, he was on the phone with the fucking paramedics and shit, or 911 or whatever, and then she fucking like comes back to life or whatever.
Well, I mean, Nick ODs twice in the movie, so he ODs in New York, and that's the first time where Steve Carell like flies across the country to go help him. And he goes to find him.
Right, because they were in San Francisco.
Yeah,
so he had to fly fucking.
Yeah, he had to take the red line. He had to take the red line flight to. And what I found interesting is it's the same exact. It's almost the same exact sequence of events where Nick OD'd, left the hospital, didn't want to see his dad because he was so ashamed he couldn't face him. When he finally does see his dad, he just breaks down into tears. Yeah. Because he knows he needs help. He knows,
and he's asking for money at that point too, right? Is that when they meet in the diner?
No, that's a different diner.
Okay.
That's a different situation. That actually happened before the New York incident.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So, before the New York incident, he had met him in the diner, and he was like, "Come on, Dad, I just need some money.
I just need a couple $100." He's like, "I can't keep fucking giving you money
just so you can go score drugs with it." Yeah.
Exactly.
And so he leaves because he's like, "Oh, this is a bad idea. This is a bad idea."
Yeah.
And then he goes off to New York. And that's kind of another problem, too, is, these drugs are really potent. But if you're getting them from the same person, it means they're, probably most likely cut in the same way, right? Like a lot of, I knew a girl who dated a heroin dealer. So what she explained to me is that her guy would cut the heroin with things that wouldn't hurt anybody, like fucking flour or baking soda or whatever shit that wasn't like
toxic,
wasn't going to be toxic when it went into the bloodstream. And then she would tell me when they stopped getting their dope from her boyfriend and went to another dealer that cut it with something else,
fentanyl. No, I'm kidding.
Well, it was something that heroin itself, like if you take heroin pure and shoot it up, chances are you're going to die if you've never done it before. Because it's so fucking pure and so strong. It's like, essentially like, if you took, it's a basically fucking medical heroin, but it's, starts with an M. What is that called? Morphine. So it's essentially heroin is fucking morphine, like on steroids. Like it's so much more potent. Sorry, needed to move again. But that's why a lot of dealers have to cut it, because if people just take pure heroin, they're gonna fucking OD.
Yeah.
But a lot of dealers don't fucking give a shit what they cut it with. So they cut it with something that's going to be toxic. Person ODs anyway. I don't fucking care. They're just trying to make a quick buck. So that's kind of why I'm not surprised that Nick OD'd when he went to New York, because he started dealing with a new dealer. He's like, if you're going to get drugs, at least get them from people you fucking know. Like, you kind of know what's in the shit.
Yeah.
But you start buying them from someone new, like, you don't really know what you're getting into. Like, the drug game is a fucking super dangerous game.
Yes.
And
it is scary.
Well, it's not regulated, man. Like,
no, of course not.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like, because the best fucking drugs aren't made in America. They're made other places. So, they can't get here legally. And, yeah. And so I wasn't surprised that Nick OD'd, but, it's interesting to me that the 2 times he ODs in the movie, he has the same exact reaction, where he literally just fucking falls in his father's lap and fucking starts bawling his eyes out, because he's accepted that this isn't a sustainable lifestyle. If he keeps doing this, he's going to die, and that he needs help, and he needs help because he can't control this thing, and he can't stop doing this on his own.
Yeah, man. And yeah, that's basically that movie. A lot of heavy stuff.
Yeah.
I did notice in the credits that it was produced by Brad Pitt. Thought that was interesting.
No shit.
So rewatchability.
I mean, it's not that I wouldn't watch this movie. It's just, to me, this movie's like, it's one of those movies. It's so hard to watch. It's kind of like Requiem for a Dream in that way, where it's just like so raw and real. I couldn't rewatch this movie right away. Like, would I rewatch
Give
it
it
again?
some
Yeah,
time.
it's a good movie. Like, I would watch it again. I recommend people watch this movie, especially if you.
I know sometimes Amazon does things right.
Yeah.
I don't like the company very well.
But some of their movies are pretty good, man.
Yeah,
Like, I hate to
guess-
admit it,
yeah.
but.
You know,
But what I would say is, if you want to look at a real look at addiction, this movie's it's a fucking good movie for that. If you want to like kind of if you're even like intrigued and you want to understand what it's like, this movie it's not a cookie cutter movie. It's not a stereotypical movie. It's very raw and real. Like, this is the nitty gritty of what this shit is like. That's the reason why I would watch it again and I would recommend it. I wouldn't watch it again anytime soon because I don't need to
I mean, that's fine.
Yeah,
Give
I
it a
w-
couple years or something, maybe, or
I mean,
more.
You know, I would say I could probably watch it again in like 6 months. It's just like I couldn't. It's just like there's like I said, there's a lot of shit that hits home, and I'm like, fuck, man, this is hard to watch at times.
It's relatable in a bad way.
You said it, not me, brother, but you're not wrong.
Yeah, I feel the same. I would rewatch it too, but give it. I do think moving on to the rating, it went down slightly since the first time I seen it, but
Sure.
not much. You know, it's still a great movie, and I think I'm at like a 7.5.
That's actually exactly the rating I was gonna give it, man.
Hell
I'm
yeah,
at a 7.5. Yeah. Rate it
really good.
higher than the movie I picked. Like,
It would have been slightly higher on the first watch, I would say, probably. But, yeah, check this movie out, fools, if you want.
man.
There it goes. That's Beautiful Boy. There's only one thing left to do.
Oh man, new movies. Shit, I gotta.
Do you know what you're picking?
Actually, let me look at.
I've had mine in my head for
Okay, shoot yours.
forever, and I have my next one too.
No shit. Okay,
Mine-
go ahead. Shoot.
Okay, the one I'm doing, I'm pretty sure you've seen it. I'm pretty
Okay.
sure we've all seen it. It stars one of the greatest comedic actors of all time, Jim Carrey. Have you ever heard anybody say they don't like Jim Carrey? Jim Carrey is universally loved, right? But I am choosing The Truman Show.
That's a great movie.
When's the last time you watched?
I haven't watched it in a long time, but it's a good fucking movie.
It's a great movie. Yeah, I can't wait to rewatch this.
me
I don't know if it's
see.
streaming. Let me check if it's streaming. Oh, it's a Showtime. We might have to rent it. That's fine.
That's okay.
I'll let you know when I rent it, and you can hop on my Vudu if you want.
So I'm going to.
Let's hear it. I'm excited.
I'm gonna pick a movie that I haven't seen.
All right.
You've probably
That's what I'm
seen this
doing
movie?
next time. That's what I'm doing next time.
I'm picking. I'm gonna pick Parasite. I wanted to watch this movie for a long time.
I've seen
Haven't
it.
watched it.
I've seen it. And I liked it. I'll say that.
I wish I could have picked one you hadn't seen, but
No.
that movie's been on my list for a while. And I was like, I think it's time.
I think that's HBO. Let me see it.
I think those are gonna be. Yeah. At least we know we're picking two fucking movies we're gonna be able to talk about for sure.
Hell yeah. They have a lot of substance in these movies.
Yeah. Oh man, I can't fucking wait to talk about the Truman Show, dude. I've watched that movie enough times. I think I could talk about it right now. But I'll save it. I'll
Yeah,
fucking
we'll
save
save
it.
Yeah, we might have to rent that one too. But it says 99 on Tomato Meter for Parasite.
Oh yeah. Oh, that movie is like universally like well renowned.
There you have it, folks. Truman Show and Parasite next time on Kevin and Drew Talk Movies. This has been another edition of Kevin and Drew Talk Movies. What'd you think? Did you watch that? Did you watch these movies? Have you seen them before? Did you like them? Do you think we gave him a proper analysis?
Do you think I'm a scumbag now?
Let us know in the comments. Like and subscribe. You want to shout out your other pod or no?
Yeah, I'll give a little shout out to Dylan. Dylan, this is for you.
Shout out.
This is the other podcast I'm working on. It's Trapped in a Isekai.
Give that a goog. Is that,
Give it a goog.
Anywhere you get your podcasts is
it's on
out
Spotify.
now? All right, cool. Sweet. Check that out, and we'll catch you next time.
On the flip side.
Peace.